There's so much we can learn from this one phrase from Barry Harris that we're going to go through it and see what secrets, or at least what some of them are, and how we can apply it to our own playing. I'm Sean. I studied with Barry for many years. I now train students to get fluent and beyond on jazzskills.com. So come and see us there. Let's listen to the phrase and see what we've got. It's pretty quick. That's it on a 2/5 progression. Let's see what's going on and how it works. This comes from the tune Ladybird, so check out the whole recording. I'll link it below. It's really interesting. So a few things that catch my ear. First of all, we've got a push right at the beginning. It doesn't come in on the first beat. Newer improvisers, everything tends to be on 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, dum. He's coming 1, 2, 3, 4, and join that to the next note, of course. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 2, 3, 4, and. Pushes, super important. I've talked about them on this channel many times before. Go and check that sort of stuff out. So next, and 1, 2, and. So not only is he coming on the and of 4 there, but then that sets up the 2 and as well. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1, 2, and 3, and. Straight D minor triad there, nothing fancy. And it doesn't need to be fancy as long as you know your ingredients, which he was a master of. So next up, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and 1. So where does this come from? That, C sharp or D flat, going down to an A. Those are notes from A major or A7. That is much more significant than it may seem, and we'll talk about that in a minute. And we have a surround note or enclosure of the 3rd of G7 and a jump up to the top of the diminished that goes with G7. I've shown many phrases that do this sort of thing. Could have been, but he's chosen to take the diminished that goes with G7 like that and extends it up to a flat 9. And then it goes on, but I've stopped there. That's a chunk of phrase that I'm happy to work on. If you're enjoying this lesson, would you please give it a quick like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and leave a positive comment if you've got one. It really helps to do more of this for you on YouTube. Now back to the lesson. All right, so why do we get that A7? That's really significant because you will have heard phrases like this before on a 2/5. You heard stuff like that before, right? You use it in you know, in the Latin stuff. So it's like a D minor, bottom note moving until it becomes a G7, right? Or it could be like this on the outsides, or just in jazz. See, what happens is 1, that top note moving, and then moving down again. Very common sound. And the reason it works for me is because you're playing with D minor 7 and then going to its dominant, A7, hence the C sharp. So you're suggesting the sound of its dominant, then back to a D minor 7, and then finally G7. So sometimes when you have a particularly long D minor to G7, let's say that was 4 bars, and you had, let's say, 2 bars of D minor and 2 bars of G7, you may break it up that way. But what Barry's done is just suggested that function, if you like. Let's see again what he has. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1, 2, and 3, and A7 stuff before surrounding the 3rd of G. I mean, that whole thing is like one big surround or enclosure, right? Okay, so we'll play the whole phrase once or twice, and then we'll look at ways we can make it our own. If there's a push there, I'm going to push the D minor early as well. So because of that push, the D minor, we're not going to write it like that, but you'd push the D minor early. 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, 2, and 3, 4, and again 1, 2, 3, 4. Now I'm not beginning on 1. Those people are not feeling the and. I'll count it through. 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, and 1. Probably probably end on something, you know, for a C major. Okay, now let's look at variations. The first thing I'm going to do is mess with the rhythm. I'm going to come in on 1 and instead of the 4 and. It should still be okay to come in on the 2 and that's got the arrow under it because there's still time. Let's see how it figures out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, 5. Fine, that's one thing I could do. Let me play it again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1 and 2. Okay, quite like that. Let's try a couple more. This time let's take a triplet. So D minor triad, say D minor 7 because of where I began on that C. Still beginning on the 1 and. 1, 2 triplet, 3 and 4 and. All the way down to A. So that allows me to still have da ba da dee, this area on the G7 that we had before, right? Untouched. So let's see how that works. Fine, quite like that. Let's try a couple more. Oh, I like that. Okay, so I'm going to begin on the first beat. We haven't had that yet. 1 and 2 and 3 and. Straight down a D minor 7 chord. That same A7 suggestion with the same surround of the third of G7 up to the diminished note. So it's really just the beginning. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3, 4 and. Several ways to practice the skills, the secrets, the ingredients of a phrase, rather than just trying to copy a lick and playing it. That also has its place, but training skills and becoming skilled is so much more important as a jazz musician. If you want to work on your improvisation skills as well as learning the language and how progressions work and having a fun and clear way to practice that, looking at voicings and chord movements, accompanying, playing tunes, improvisation of course, and all sorts of other stuff, then come and join us on Jazz Skills. You'll also get support from me and connect to a wonderful, like-minded, vibrant community as well. Thanks for watching, and bye for now.